Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. We are back again with another guest who's most certainly an impact maker within his own rights, and we're going to find out just why. But first, let's take a quick moment to introduce him to the show. Now, my guest today is someone who helps people get real and meaningful value from their use of the business tool known to us all as LinkedIn. He's a trusted and respected LinkedIn coach, trainer, consultant, columnist, author, blogger, and public speaker who began studying and actively using social media tools in 2005. Now, over time, he became actively involved in using LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and many other social media tools to grow his own business. He has published 2 books, ladies and gentlemen, Networking for Mutual Benefit and Success Using Social Media. Both are at the core of the principles he practices and shares in his messages regarding networking and using social media. Now, and additionally, he provides one-on-one coaching, seminars, webinars, workshops, and public speeches related to the philosophies, best practices, and processes of using LinkedIn as a business tool, and is considered a world-renowned LinkedIn professional. And he's here today, ladies and gentlemen, to talk to us about some of the problems, some of the obstacles, some of the misconceptions, pitfalls, and fears surrounding the individuals and organizations he has a passion around helping the most. So please, let's welcome him to the show, LinkedIn coach and trainer, as well as public speaker, Teddy Burriss. Teddy, welcome to the show. Are you there?
I am, Stuart. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate you reaching across the big pond to invite me into this show.
You are so welcome, Teddy, and I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day on the other side of the pond, because I just know how busy you are. So, briefly, tell us, who is your perfect prospect, Teddy? Who is it that you help?
Great question, Stuart. And I love the word prospect, but I like to take it a little broader and think of it in regards of just who can I help? Often it's not just about making money, even though that's important. But for me, I like to think about who are the people I can help in a very broad sense. My prospects fall in the funnel automatically by doing what I do, which is called lead with give. So, but if we're going to talk about it from a business perspective, who is my perfect prospect, which means the person who has the wherewithal and the ability to hire me, this would be a business consultant, sales trainers. This would be VPs or executives responsible for managing a sales organization. So that's my key focus is, business professionals, business consultants, sales consultants, and then executives who are responsible for leading sales organizations.
Okay, Teddy. So when you think about those specific group of people that you've just named, can you please share with us just 2 to 3 common obstacles that you come across which prevent those types of people that you work with from mastering LinkedIn as a business tool?
Well, the great question, Stuart, because if I can't get them to overcome these preconceived obstacles, then they're not going to attempt to adopt some of the practices that I want to teach. The number one obstacle that I have to help business owners and executives and my target prospects to overcome, and number one obstacle is to accept or discover that LinkedIn is a business tool, not just a social media site. That's the number one big obstacle. It's a business tool, not just, and as I do air quotes, a social media site. The second thing they have to overcome is that they have to learn the best practices of using LinkedIn. That it doesn't happen innately. They have to learn this. And then the third thing, Stuart, is to teach these individuals how to, and here's big words, how to integrate the use of LinkedIn. Really big words.
That's a really big word now. Steady on there, Teddy.
Yeah, well, it's imperative, because if we don't integrate the use of new business tools into our day-to-day processes, we'll never use them, because we'll resist moving over to the other side and using something new because we're comfortable with what we're doing today. So this is, I'm glad you asked the question this way, because it always makes me think, I've got to always figure out how to help my target clients figure out how to adopt these tools.
So in terms of integrating and connecting and engaging LinkedIn as a tool in their sales process, is that something that the people you work with struggle to use to create value for their business?
It is because, you can't integrate a new business tool into your daily routine until you can do two things. One, understand what this tool can do for you. And two, figure out how to do that. Too often people look at LinkedIn and there's so many different places to click. What's groups, what's companies, what's search, what's advanced search, what's messaging. And so it can be overwhelming until you get a grasp on the specific areas of LinkedIn that can create meaningful value.
Okay, Teddy. So staying with the types of professionals that you have this passion around helping and have been working with on a daily basis for quite some time, what are 2 to 3 popular misconceptions they may have about taking advantage of and getting real and meaningful value from LinkedIn as a business tool?
Another great question, Stuart. Well, my first issue that I have to overcome the most is that most business professionals believe that LinkedIn is a job search tool. They believe that's the only meaningful value for it. So therefore, it's not something that they need because they're not looking for a job. And I've come a long way to help people overcome that by using a phrase that most people don't use. And Stuart, you know me well enough to know a little bit different. And I use this phrase that your resume is your obituary. LinkedIn is no place to publish your obituary.
I get it.
It's not about job search. It's about connecting with people. So I'm getting better at helping people overcome that big misperception. The other one is that many people believe that they have to send a connect request to everyone that they meet, or they have to accept every connection request. And it really is not all about that. It's far more deliberate and far more beneficial if you have a strategy to who you send a connect request to and who you accept it from. Another big word, strategy, with the use of social media as an individual. And then here's the other big misperception, is that many people think that my best prospects aren't using LinkedIn, so I won't. Let me repeat that. My best prospects are not on LinkedIn, so I won't either. And that is failure.
Why is that? Go a little bit deeper into that for us, please, Teddy.
Yeah. So here's the value of social networking and networking in general. When we go to networking events, we don't often expect our best clients to be there, but who will be there is someone who we can build a relationship with, who may know our best prospect and then be able to introduce us to that person. Same thing with LinkedIn. There's 400 million people on LinkedIn. On my side of the pond, there's 113 million people in the United States using LinkedIn. And if I do all the math, There's only about 30 million people in the US who actively use LinkedIn on a monthly basis. So, but doing the math, that's not a very big number in a big picture. But who is on LinkedIn are people who could be connected to or associated with or doing business with or personal friends with the people I want to meet. So
Right.
that's what I have to get people to overcome.
So would it be accurate to say then, Teddy, that in the position of somebody who goes to regular, let's say, offline in the real world networking meetings, face to face, toe to toe, belly to belly with people on a regular basis, would it be fair to say that similar rules and principles, ethics apply to LinkedIn also? Is there some crossover there? Is there some linkage, for lack of a better term?
Absolutely. Stuart, when I wrote my first book, Networking for Mutual Benefit, I developed an edict that I live by. And the edict I live by goes like this. Networking is finding, developing, and nurturing relationships that mutually move people forward through life. It's all about connecting with people and finding out where we click. How, who are you? Who am I? How can I help you? Lead with give. And then when I have permission, how can you help me? That's in real life networking. And it absolutely transfers over to social networking. Who are you? Who am I? How can I help you? And then when I have permission based on the developing relationship, then I can ask you, how can you help more? Ask you for help of me.
So what happens then, Teddy, when somebody leaves that offline environment and then they get online? Why do they change? Why do they look at this, the whole aspect of networking in a different light than they do when they're networking in person? What happened?
One day I'll figure out the answer to that, Stuart. Right now, I think, and I'm only hypothesizing here, and that is that our marketing machines, the big organizations, the big brands who develop our marketing statements, our marketing practices, have coined this phrase that I am personally not a fan of. It's called social selling. And the fact that we put that word selling into any conversation, any practices, any activities that we do on social media, I believe is disrespectful to the people that I'm trying to connect with and build a relationship with. Social selling is a phrase that I really believe is being overused.
That does make sense, because once you put that label of selling on anything at all, then it has a negative connotation, even though everything is selling. I'm selling myself to you right now. You're selling yourself to me and the listeners. We are constantly selling. So there's nothing wrong with selling, but it does carry this negative connotation to it. So I can totally understand where you're coming from. So Teddy, before we move on to the next question, I still want to just stay on this topic of misconceptions, especially the second one that you mentioned, where you said people have this preconceived notion that they have to connect with everybody who sends them the connection request. In fact, this is something that I've struggled with myself in the past. I get these connection requests from people that are within my own industry who are quote unquote competitors, but I know them. They're in my space. We're on the same Facebook groups. We've known each other for years. What do I do? Do I accept them? And then, they're showing up on my LinkedIn account, and maybe my prospects will see them and hire them instead of me. So touch a little bit on that for us, please, Teddy. I'm sure the listeners are going to learn something from you in that respect.
This might be my next great blog post because, it's a challenge for lots of people. And I contend there are really three types of LinkedIn connectors. And again, number one being a wrong way to connect. They accept every invite and they send invites out willy-nilly to just about anybody just to build a massive stack of business cards online. And there's then the second one type of connector on LinkedIn is someone who says, I'm only going to connect with people I do business with.
Right.
So we have the connector who connects with the world. And I know these people. I know the people who have 30,000 connections, not followers, actual connections. And then went to build a second profile because you can only connect with 30,000. I know that guy. Then again, on the whole other end of the spectrum, I will only connect with people I do business with. I want people to fall in the middle. What I want people to do is to use where I have truly discovered great, meaningful value is I want to connect with people who are relevant to me in many different ways. Not just my business, not just my community, not just because we met at a seminar or we met here or we had coffee there, but people who think differently than me, who are interesting, people with ideas that could help me think about new ideas for myself. It's the word relevance, Stuart. It's all about relevance. And relevance is a broad term. It can't just be Teddy Burriss LinkedIn. It has to be Teddy Burriss in many different ways. The reason I want people to have, again, a strategic plan for who to connect with is because when you build a network of people who are relevant to you in many different ways, it creates connections in many different ways. And the other thing that happens is that if you connect the way I teach you to connect, which is to immediately start engaging, not just collect business cards, then you do that piece of the edict, which, find, develop, nurture relationships. And that's where opportunities happen.
This is a fascinating topic, because I get connection requests every single day. At least, 4 or 5 connection requests I receive. And I don't accept all of them. But sometimes I think, this guy's kind of, as you said, relevant to my business. And I'll accept them. And then I don't hear anything more. And I'm thinking, well, why did you want to connect with me in the first place? And it's almost, I don't know, I see it almost like collecting trophies, like, oh, I've got 365 connections now, and one more, I'm on 366. And it's kind of, I don't know, I've never been able to understand that part of LinkedIn where you're connecting with people and then you don't say anything. I really just it's a fascinating topic, and I can't wait for you to write up on that and shed some of your expertise on that particular topic. So, could talk a lot longer on that one, but we've got plenty more questions to go, Teddy. So, when you think about the individuals who you help and the organizations that you help, and those wanting to pursue their goals of getting real and meaningful value from LinkedIn, please just share with us a couple of pitfalls that they should be aware of before they actually begin on that journey of trying to build their business by using LinkedIn as a business tool.
I wish we had way more time because the pitfall list is way bigger.
I bet.
But I'll bring it down to 2 of them that absolutely are paramount. And the number one pitfall is very similar to one of the misconceptions, and that is too many people believe that their LinkedIn profile is their resume. And it's not your resume. It's your online billboard that very clearly says, in my example, I'm Teddy Burriss, and I'm a LinkedIn coach, consultant, trainer, public speaker. And everything I put in my online LinkedIn profile needs to support that statement. Even the past experiences that I've had, it all needs to, in many direct and indirect ways, it needs to support the statement that your LinkedIn profile is your public billboard and not a resume.
Give us an example, Teddy.
Okay, so if you were to go look at my LinkedIn profile today, Stuart, and you scroll through my LinkedIn profile, everything you read on it is going to be relevant to who I am today. My current position, obviously, or that would be failure. But if you look at my past positions, the only thing that I talk about here, big statements, the only thing that I talk about in my previous positions is the things that I did back then that are either relevant to who I am today or show professional growth.
Interesting. Very interesting.
And there's lots more that, people need to learn about how to build a compelling, here's my words, proud, bold, slightly pompous LinkedIn profile. The second big pitfall is believing that they can build a LinkedIn profile and make money from it. Or they can build a LinkedIn profile, and by doing that, it's going to help their business. And it won't. It absolutely will not. There are 3 key pieces that you have to do on LinkedIn for it to participate in growing your business. And building your profile is only one of those pieces.
And the other 2?
Oh, I kind of thought you might want to know.
Well, you dropped it out there. You're not going to leave the show without telling us. So please spill the beans. You have the floor, Teddy.
After you build a bold and proud LinkedIn profile, the second thing you have to do is build a strong, meaningful, and relevant network, which goes back to your strategic plans for sending invites out and accepting invites. You've got to build a network of people who care about you a little bit, or interested in you a little bit, or at least aware about who you are, so that and relevant to who you are, not just build a big pile of people. That's the second thing, build a relevant and meaningful network. The third thing that you have to do, Stuart, to create value using LinkedIn to help your business or achieve whatever your goals are. I also teach this in career transition, not just business. Whatever your purpose and goal is, the third thing you have to do is you must build a reputation. And hopefully we're thinking a positive reputation, not just, hey, I'm Teddy, I'm this, I'm that, but a positive reputation relevant to who you are and what you do. And the way you do that is through your engagement, your conversations, the stuff you share, your comments on other people's posts, the groups that you're involved in. It's 3 legs, Stuart. I think that if we all think about it a little bit, everything that creates success in life often is based on 3 things. And in LinkedIn, it's your profile, your network, and your reputation.
Moving on from this point, Teddy, now you and your lovely wife, Rebecca, I've done my research. You started BURRISS Consulting way back in 2010 with the main goal of training and coaching individuals on the best practices and processes of using LinkedIn as a business tool. Mm-hmm. Now, I can imagine that you've both seen a lot happen during that period of time. So, taking your combined experiences into consideration, Teddy, what are 2 to 3 of the most common fears that prevent the people you work with from achieving their desired outcomes when using LinkedIn as a business tool?
Stuart, this is a conversation that comes up all the time, and I've developed a speech around it. The speech is titled Dealing with Risk and Fear. Risk and Fear. Because and that all comes back down to the one word that pretty much does not exist using social media. For the most part, does not exist. And that word is privacy. There is nothing private about using social media. Yeah, on LinkedIn, there's a few fields that you can, actually, there's only a few fields. Interestingly enough, I think it's only your contact information that it has any real privacy control. But everything else, here's the big words, everything that you share on social media is for the most part accessible by others. And who those others are depend upon the boxes you check, public or connections or whatever. What I want to teach people, what I do teach people to do, Stuart, is just accept there is no privacy. And therefore, if there is no privacy, take advantage of that. And everything you do on LinkedIn should be 100%, let me repeat, 100% public. If you're going to use LinkedIn as a business tool, why do you only want to make it accessible to a few? Let it be accessible to everyone. And then the other piece of that, Stuart, is to follow another edict that I live by. And that edict is never do, say, or engage. Let me repeat that. Never do, say, or engage on LinkedIn in a way you don't want to be seen, heard, or perceived in life. So privacy is the biggest fear that people have. And what I have to do is help them overcome that fear basically by their own actions and not share something you wouldn't share with a complete stranger. The second big fear is that, oh my golly, I'm going to get overcome by spammers. I'm going to get overcome by people who, want to get into the corporate office or get into the ivory tower that I'm in, or I'm going to get overcome by people who just want to take me for everything and take me. Sell me the wrong stuff, try to get a meeting with me to, promote their own selfish interest. And that is true. There are people out there who are focused on their own self-interest and not thinking about quote unquote mutually beneficial engagement. What I've discovered, Stuart, is that they aren't that many and they're easy to manage. If somebody sends me an invite and they want to connect with me and they go down the path of being a fool, then I have the ability to click on a button that tells them to go away. I have the ability to click on another button that alerts LinkedIn that they should go away permanently. In a big picture, there are spammers out there and there are people who are their only interest of themselves, but it's really not hard to manage. It's really quite easy. It's, a couple clicks and they go bye-bye. I'm a big network. I'm across the world. And I really don't get bothered by that.
Share a couple of quick tips of how to spot the typical traits of a spammer, because they all leave tracks behind. Just a quick couple of sound bites.
Well, a couple of them will be, if you look at their LinkedIn profile, then they're talking, and everything they write is all about the thing they sell or the service they deliver. They don't talk about them as a person. That's the first one. The other big spammers that are truly, need to be click and go away is their profile is pretty naked. There's not a lot of content on there. And if there is content, it's really very simplistic. The telltale action is they convince you that they're a good person and you connect with them. Usually the very first message you're going to get from them is, hey, Teddy, I got this whiz-bang widget I'd love to sell you. And I have a very hardcore rule that if that's the way you want to start our relationship, that's a trigger for me to say goodbye.
Mm. And Teddy, sometimes when you get those kind of messages, they're not actually from spammers. They're just from somebody who just doesn't know any better. They may have good intentions, but they just don't know any better, right?
That's true. And Stuart, great point, because I do have people that I connect with who I think that, they live in my region, they're in my industry, they're connected to people that I trust and respect. So for me, because this is my job, not for everybody, but for me, I'll give many of them the benefit of the doubt, and I'll let them answer to me and tell me why did they send that message. I'll give them an opportunity to redeem themselves.
Exactly. So any other fears, Teddy?
Well, the other big fear is that it's a big black hole of waste of time. And it absolutely can become a time suck. It can absolutely become addictive. And the way you overcome addiction is by learning the best practices of using the tool and using it in a deliberate manner.
Yeah. Teddy, can I ask you a personal question?
I guess.
You just really seem to absolutely love what you're doing. I can just feel this passion coming through. Are you having fun talking about this topic, Teddy?
Stuart, I'm sweating profusely. I'm crying with pain. No, Stuart, I made a decision a long time ago that my purpose is to teach people how to use these tools in a meaningful way to create value. And I live this. I love it. I really do love teaching, again, the best practices, the philosophy. And here's my big moment, which told me I was on the right journey, Stuart. I was working with an executive of a large organization. I'm talking about an international organization, and one of their city executives. And I was explaining to him the benefits of using LinkedIn, and he looked at me. He said, "Are you for real? We can do that?" And I was like, "Yes, sir, you can." It was, that aha moment that I get from people that really gets me pumped up. So yes, sir, the answer is I enjoy what I do every day.
Yeah, and that's just so obvious. I mean, your enthusiasm is infectious, and you're going to feel that coming through the airwaves. I'm just so glad that you've found the time to speak with us today, Teddy. So the next question I got for you, right? Whenever I ask this one, it's kind of funny question because it sounds like it's an obvious question, but I have to ask it anyway on behalf of the listeners. So when you think about the people who you work with, why would they want to take more advantage of LinkedIn as a business tool?
You know what, Stuart? There's a big mystery for many people. In the US, there are 250 some million working people, 250 million professionals, full-time, part-time in the US. 250. There's only 112 million or 100 and some million people in the US using LinkedIn. So only 50% actually have a profile. But then LinkedIn says in their annual report, Q3 2015 report, that only 25% of their people actually use LinkedIn on a routine basis, and they are actively using LinkedIn is the words they use. And the definition of actively using LinkedIn is they get on it once a month.
Wow.
So take the 112 and take only a quarter of that. So now I'm down to, less than 30 million people in the US. Now I'm not doing worldwide, just in 30 million people in the US out of 250 million professionals are using this tool. So the reason when my clients get my coaching and get the why, I teach the why before I teach the how. And the why is if you're willing to adopt using a new business tool, you can be in front of everybody else, because only 25% of the 112, which is really only 12% of the business professionals in the US, 12% of the business professionals. It goes back to this, Stuart. We've had over our decades, we went from the telex to the fax. From the fax machine to text messaging, from text messaging to Twitter. And look at another channel. We went from telephones, landlines, party lines. Did you have party lines in when you were a kid, Stuart?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we went from party lines to personal phones to digital phones to cell phones. Now we have Google Voice and Skype phones. And then figure out, how does social media play a role as a communications tool? And so when the business professionals that I coach understand that social media is a business communications tool, and that they have the opportunity to be a leader adopting and using this tools the right way and be in front of their peers, i.e. competitors, when I show them that their clients and their prospects are potentially using this tool, or the people who are using this tool can introduce them to it, it's the sum of all of that. The fact that it's a communications tool, new age communication tool that's not going away, 1 to 2 new LinkedIn members every second. 1 to 2 new LinkedIn members every second. It's not going away. And so it's adopting the philosophy that it's a communications tool that when we use it right will create value. That's why my clients use this.
Teddy, it's been a great interview so far. We know obviously a little bit more about who you are and this passion that you have around helping the solopreneurs and corporations and the consultants, people in sales, the trainers, the vice presidents, and the executives that you work with. You've spoken about some of the most common obstacles and the popular misconceptions that they may have bought into. And you touched on the harmful pitfalls they should be aware of when pursuing using LinkedIn as a business tool. And you also mentioned some of the fears that hold them back, as well as some of the emotional and logical reasons what you've just shared with us. So now that we know all of that, Teddy, let's just talk a little bit about your solution. What is it exactly? Does it have a name? Does it have a brand? And what made you come up with the idea? You've kind of touched a little bit on it, but what inspired you to help the kinds of people that you work with today? Now, I know that was about 3 million questions in one sentence, right? But just to encapsulate it all, tell us a little bit about your backstory and how it links to where you are today and what you do.
Well, and I'm glad that you asked, do I have a brand for what I teach? Because I'm developing that brand message, Stuart, and I'll share it with you. And I'd love to have your take on it. My backstory is that in 2005, I went to sell IT solutions after a very successful year as an IT, in the IT industry in pretty much every area you can be, and for the most part working with as an employee for corporate America. And so when I decided to start my retirement journey, which is a word that I don't use often because it doesn't really fit me, I decided that one thing I needed to practice more was not only being a Toastmaster, so I went and studied Toastmasters, but I also decided I needed to learn how to sell better. So I decided what better way than become a salesperson in an industry that I understand, which is IT. So I went to sell IT solutions, and the guy who hired me, when I asked him what's the one thing I need to do to be successful working for him, he said, I want you to grip and grin your way through every chamber event, collect as many business cards as you can, and put them in our CRM system and call them until they buy. I was like, oh man, I just quit my corporate job to do this. This is not what I signed up for.
I bet.
Yeah, so I was a little disillusioned. I remember coming home and telling my wife, I said, babe, he wants me to cold call, and I'm just not interested in doing that. And my wife jokingly said, hey boy, you quit your job, figure out how to make this one work. And so I did. I went and studied Toastmasters. I went and studied Dale Carnegie. I studied Keith Ferrazzi's book, Never Eat Alone. I read Ralph Waldo Emerson's books, Self-Reliance. And that's how I learned how to network, by studying people who were successful in life. And success is a broad word, doesn't mean just dollars. And so then I also discovered LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter along the way and realized, these play a role in what I'm trying to do. And so I really started experimenting with social media. And LinkedIn, I really, really started experimenting with and figured out this thing works. I can use this as one of my tools to help me grow my business. And Stuart, it did. I got to the point in 2008, 2009 when the economic machines across the world started failing. I was still growing my business, and it was growing differently than I thought it would. But I was growing my book of business, working for this IT organization, and I was growing it because I was making connections, building relationships, and helping people. And I realized I want to go teach people how to do this because it works. So that's my backstory. I went and started using them and discovered that they are a powerful tool when you use them the right way. And that's how I became Teddy Burriss, LinkedIn coach, consultant, and trainer. So that's my backstory. And it really, for me, I'm blessed by that story. I'm blessed by my experiences. And I'm blessed to have the opportunity to help others learn what I've learned. And it took years to learn it, and I'm hoping to teach it to them in a shorter amount of time.
Perfect. And I hope that with you coming on the show that this is going to play a role in you being able to place yourself and your services in front of the right people at the right time, because you've certainly demonstrated that you are an educator and an advocate for your prospects and clients' success. You certainly have demonstrated that you care. That's what has been the standout thing for me in doing this show. I can actually just feel that you care so much for the people that you work with, Teddy. So I admire you for that, really. I do. And I'm really happy that you've been able to come on the show and share some time with us today.
Thank you, sir.
So you're so welcome, my friend. You're so welcome. So finally, Teddy, I could sit here and speak with you all night. And I just really feel that we've touched the tip of the iceberg. There's so many questions that I personally have about LinkedIn. And I'm sure the people listening to the show have tons of questions about LinkedIn, but we've run out of time, Teddy, basically, at the end of the day. So if there is a individual or someone representing an organization, such as the consultants that you work with, or the salespeople, the trainers, or a VP, an executive in charge of managing teams, or an HR director, or even an event organizer looking to bring somebody in and speak to their teams, if they're listening to this show right now, Teddy, and they're thinking, something, this Teddy Burriss and his wife, Rebecca, they sound like a fantastic team. We want to know more. We want to get to understand more about this LinkedIn monster. Okay, so if that's the case, Teddy, how would they be able to get hold of you?
Stuart, I've been branding myself as T.L. Burris since way back in 2000. So I tell people, if you're looking for Teddy and you can't find Teddy, you ain't looking in the right places, that's for sure. Just go Google T.L. Burriss, RRS, and you can find Teddy Burriss. There, if I Google T.L. Burriss today, there's 2,470 results with T.L. Burriss. And I would wager that 99% of them, if not 100% of them, I'm on page 15 and they're still all about me. TLBURRISS. Now, in a more deliberate way, Stuart, I absolutely am always open to a meaningful connection between me and someone I can help. And so I actually share my LinkedIn profile. Just go find Teddy Burriss, RRS on LinkedIn. And if you want to connect with me, send me an invite and let me know why you want to connect. Give me some meaningful statement in the message that you should send. And I will almost always accept an invite that's sent to me with some meaningful message. The last offer, Stuart, is I'm absolutely fine with people finding my phone number. I absolutely am fine worldly with people finding my phone number. And so if you go Google T.L. Burriss or look at my about.me page, my phone number is public. And so I'm open to phone calls to 336-283-6121. And I'm going to tell you, Stuart, I get lots of phone calls. More often than not, they're meaningful.
Perfect. So if somebody was interested in reading your books, Teddy, could you just share the details about those two books that you have out there once more, please?
Absolutely, sir. The first book is one that really is the core of everything I teach. The title is Networking for Mutual Benefit. And it's all about how to find people, how to connect with people, how to lead with give, and how to wait until you have permission to ask and only ask for something that you believe exists. And you have to read the book to understand what that means. You never ask for something that you don't know exists. That doesn't work. The second book is called Success Using Social Media. And it's where I take my practices, my best principles that I learned by networking, and I adopted them into the use of social media. So Networking for Mutual Benefit and Success Using Social Media are my two core books, and they're both available on Amazon and Kindle and paperback, anywhere. Actually, I'm just recently sold some in the UK through Amazon.
Look, Teddy, we have run out of time here. I just want to thank you and your lovely wife, Rebecca, for coming onto the show and just being so open and just laying your cards on the table and just being so helpful. For anybody who's out there listening to the show right now and you do have some issues with LinkedIn, Teddy is obviously the man that you need to be speaking with. If you prefer something more of a softer, more vibrant, more alluring hands-on approach, then Rebecca is the person you need to ask for as well. They've both been working this business since 2010, so they know what they're doing. So with that said, Teddy, before we go, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with the listeners out there?
Stuart, I would love to hear that people practice a belief that has changed my life. And that belief, that practice, is that you lead with give. And you have to have a strategic plan. You have to have a goal. You have to have a purpose. But when you lead with give in everything you do in life, it comes back to you. And call it a God thing, call it a worldly thing, call it karma. Call it anything you want. When you lead with give, it comes back to you.
Preach it, Brother Teddy. Preach it, man. Thank you so much, Teddy. Ladies and gentlemen, please check him out, Teddy Burriss. Look him up on LinkedIn. Check out his books. You're going to be in the right hands. So this was another show with yours truly, Stuart Andrew Alexander. And remember, perfection is not when there is nothing left to add. It's when there's nothing left to take away. And with that, I'd like to say goodbye, take care, and we'll talk real soon.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.